Glaucoma, often called the silent thief of sight because it usually has no early symptoms, with vision loss happening gradually, and many people don't know they have it until significant damage has occurred. Glaucoma is a group of eye conditions that damage the optic nerve, often caused by increased pressure in the eye, and can lead to permanent vision loss if not detected early. The federal government has raised concern that about 12 to 14 million Nigerians are currently living with glaucoma, with the majority of cases still undiagnosed. It is characterized by low awareness, with 90 to 94% of cases undiagnosed, accounting for approximately 16.7% of all blindness in the country. Key risks include African ancestry and age. While vision loss is irreversible, early detection through regular comprehensive eye exams can halt further damage. Recent studies indicate that up to 90 to 94% of Nigerians affected by the eye disease are unaware of their condition, highlighting the urgent need for increased awareness and regular eye screening. The Nigerian government emphasizes increased screening, training, and the National Eye Health Strategic Development Plan 2024 to 2028 are some of the measures to curb irreversible blindness caused by glaucoma and other eye ailments. The Ministry of Health had also developed the Nigeria Glaucoma Guidelines and Toolkits to standardize diagnosis, treatment, and referral protocols across the country. Why is it that people still do not realize they have glaucoma until it is too late? How often should Nigerians have their eyes examined for glaucoma? And if glaucoma is detected early, what treatment options are available? These and more will be our focus on Good Morning Nigeria as we discuss preventing glaucoma in Nigeria.
All right, many thanks, Ibrahim Bello Gunda, for that background report. Let's begin this conversation by introducing our guests. And I have the pleasure of first welcoming here in the studio Dr. Adora Chinwendu Okudo, who is a consultant ophthalmologist at Sokoro District Hospital here in Abuja. We thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Let me also welcome Dr. Aisha Sherif Kalambe, senior consultant ophthalmologist at the Sokoro District Hospital as well. Good to have you join us.
Thank you for having us.
All right, also joining us for the conversation is a man. I should mention that. Two women already introduced. We have Dr. Chimezie Obimgwam, consultant ophthalmologist and director, National Ear, Eye and Sensory Functions Health Program, Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare. It's a pleasure to have you with us, Doctor.
Good morning.
All right. Also joining us for the conversation from our Kaduna studio is Dr. Amina Hassan Wadi, Chief Medical Director, National Eye Center, Kaduna. Thank you, Doctor, for joining us.
Thank you.
In this conversation, and let me begin with Dr. Okudo. Now, glaucoma is often referred to as the silent thief of sight. Why is it so? There are other eye, diseases. There are other things that steal your sight. Why is glaucoma so described?
We describe the glaucoma as the silent thief of sight because in the early and the moderate stages of the disease is asymptomatic. That means the individual who has glaucoma will not be aware and he would have no eye problems. He will be able to see clearly, he won't have any pain, he won't have any discomfort whatsoever. The only way he will get aware that he has glaucoma is when he has his eyes checked. So,
How often?
how often should an individual have? Every year. Every Nigerian should have their eyes checked at least once a year. So it's when that individual has their eyes checked in the early and moderate stages, that's when he'll be told that he has glaucoma for the first time. And then at that point, so that's the problem. So in the early stages of the disease is the peripheral vision that is affected, the side vision. But the individual is not aware that there's anything happening in the eye until the advanced stages of the disease where the central vision gets to be affected. And at that point, the individual is already visually impaired or even blind. And that's when he's now aware and he's conscious there's a problem. And then when he seeks for help, the challenge with glaucoma is that at that point we can't reverse the damage. There's nothing that can be done to restore the vision. So that's why we call it the silent thief of sight. You become aware of the problem when it's really advanced.
There's nothing you can do about it.
Yes.
Many thanks, Dr. Okudo, for that opener. to set the tone for the conversation. Silent thief of the night. I think
Of sight.
of sight, you know. You can actually catch a thief. There are many ways, right? You see, there are many ways. So, and she has talked about getting your eyes checked. But I want to ask, what causes glaucoma? Is it a genetic disease? Is it as a result of daily practice, or, you know, what are the factors responsible for it in the first place?
Okay. So majority of glaucoma is actually genetic. Okay. So there are different types. The major one that causes painless loss of vision is the primary open angle glaucoma. Unfortunately, or would I say fortunately, that's the one that is most common to our population size. So black Africans have that most commonly. But then, so that one is genetically, that's, you get it genetically, so the family history of the disease would be prevalence. And there are other types of as well, because you can have congenital glaucoma, which you're born with, again, also genetically inclined. You can have juvenile open angle glaucoma, again, those that start before the age of 40, so in younger people, again, you can inherit it. Genes have been isolated for all of these conditions. But then we have the secondary glaucomas. So these groups are the primary ones, and those are the ones that genes have been implicated in. Then we have the secondary ones that are a result of conditions that you may have. So things like intraocular infections, for example, increases your risk. Things like diabetes, things like hypertension, trauma, all of that cause secondary types of glaucoma. So some, yes, genetically, but some are not. But the larger proportion are the ones that you inherit with genes. What it does is that basically both of them, bottom line is that the optic nerve is damaged, and the nerve does not regenerate, which is why it's not reversible. And the primary open one is the one where you have the pain. Again, another aspect of it is, so most of them are primary open and glaucoma painless, but a few would present with pain. So in a few, you may have redness, severe pain, excessive tearing, and all of that. Angle closure glaucoma, that is also genetically inherited, but that gives you a warning sign. Very few percentage of people actually have that. So in summary, genetics play a major role. Being black is a risk factor. Having a family history, obviously, because of the genetics, is also a risk factor. But other conditions, primarily eye conditions like myopia, for instance, refractive errors, increase your risk. Systemic conditions like diabetes, hypertension, also increase your risk. And then trauma, whether they're chemical injuries, whether they're mechanical traumas, also increase your risk. And then recurrent intraocular infections also increase your risk. So when you have all of those things, then they're all red flags.
Thank you, Dr. Kalambi. And I'm wondering, Dr. Bimba, now, Dr. Kudo earlier said that, you know, check your eye once a year. I do, for instance. I do once a year. I've done for this year. But is the distance between this year's check and the next check not enough time for glaucoma to do damage? By the way, how serious is glaucoma as a public health issue in Nigeria?
Well, it's a very serious problem. The reports that just released by your colleague in the field says 16.7% of Nigerians, of blindness in Nigeria is due to glaucoma. So it's the second leading cause of blindness in Nigeria, and ultimately the most important leading cause of irreversible blindness in Nigeria and the world globally as it is. And the report also talked about 12 to 14 million Nigerians being affected by it. And so we are talking about between 24 to 28 million eyes being affected. So that's a significant impact in the country and of public health importance. Also, knowing full well that it affects majorly people 40 years and above. That's the peak of most people, career-wise, productivity, economic empowerment. So it's a condition that affects people who are economically empowered to do most of the work of any nation. And so for us, public health intertwines with economy, productivity, and ensuring a healthy nation. And so if we don't have such people being healthy, it means that there is little or much that can be contributed to the economy. Now, going to your question of a year being so much a gap in between that, it's not so much of a gap, because once it's identified, you are now within the treatment pool. And there are instances where you may have a 3-monthly appointment, 6-monthly appointment, depending on how the only modifiable factor, which is the intraocular pressure, can be adjusted, because at a point, it's been known that one of the risk factors is high intraocular pressure. However, there are some forms of glaucoma that even the pressure is normal. Normal pressure is between 10 to 21 millimeters of mercury, but in some cases, the pressure is also normal and damage to the nerve is still ongoing. So in such cases, we also want to institute treatment. So people are advised to come, get checked. Once you get checked and it is established that there is glaucoma, then the treatment now goes forward from there. It could be 3 monthly, could be 6 monthly, depending on the judgment of the clinician who is managing the situation.
All right, well, thanks, Dr. Obim. Let's get to Dr. Wali in our Kaduna studio. The foundation has been set about what glaucoma is, those who are affected, those who are at risk. But I'd like you to speak about how Nigerians generally perceive their eye health, or how they take care of their eyes. Because, I mean, you work at the eye center, so I'm sure you'd have a general statistics. Is it that Nigerians present for checks, or is it that they come when their eyes have been completely damaged? Or, you know, what are the reasons, you know, you have experienced that makes Nigerians seek a professional for eye care?
From experience, most of our patients that present to the hospital, the National Eye Center being the apex eye care center in Nigeria, most patients present when they have symptoms. Very few patients present when they don't have symptoms, even despite making awareness for people to come and check their eyes. But from experience, most people come when they have symptoms. And then during examining such patients, that's when we try to get them to bring their other relations, especially if we diagnose glaucoma. As earlier said, glaucoma can be a genetic, it's mostly genetic disease, so it can be inherited. So most of the time, we find that we are the ones that create that awareness that patients or the population should try to check their eyes even if they don't have symptoms. Check their eyes even if they don't have symptoms, especially from the age of 40, because most of the eye diseases occur from that age, and some of the systemic diseases are associated with affecting the visual system occur from that age. But we also advocate for younger people, younger children to also come for eye check. Like for those that are going to start school, that is vision screening in school for children, so that some diseases that affect the adults can also affect children, which can be detected early. But despite all our efforts, it's still, the numbers is still not encouraging. But I think with the awareness that we're all creating, all the ophthalmologists or the eye care professionals in Nigeria, I think the numbers are gradually increasing. For people are aware that eye health is very, very important, and it's important that you have at least a yearly check. Don't wait to have symptoms, so that certain diseases like glaucoma, the silent thief of sight, can be detected. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to remain with you. From the numbers that you have, is glaucoma a major concern, you know, for us in Nigeria? Of course, I know she said, well, it's a disease of black people and all of that. You know, categorizing the kinds of eye infections, or if you like, eye diseases that you've treated or you take care of in your eye center, is glaucoma top on the list? And if it's not, tell us what is top.
Glaucoma is top on the list because in National Eye Center, we have 3 trained glaucoma ophthalmologists, and I can tell you that their clinic days from Mondays to Thursdays to Fridays are always full. So glaucoma is top of the list after cataract, because in Nigeria, from the studies done, or globally too, cataract is still the leading cause of blindness, followed by glaucoma. And then it might interest you to know that I, being a pediatric ophthalmologist, We also see children now coming up with glaucoma. Some is hereditary, some are born with it. That's what the one we call congenital glaucoma. So the numbers are increasing also in that aspect.
Thank you, Dr. Wiley. Let me get back here in the studio and with Dr. Kudo. From your perspective, would you say that Nigerians tend to deal with other health issues and neglect the eye? If so, why?
Well, for majority of Nigerians, what I would say is that they would prioritize the ones that are symptomatic. That's number one. Then when it comes to the eye, and when you're specifically talking about glaucoma, glaucoma has no symptoms until the end stage of the disease. So because it's not of concern, it's not disturbing them as individuals, then they would not make it a priority to have their eyes checked. So that's the problem. And then Nigerians generally don't have a health-seeking behavior where you should just go in for preventive checks and just check to know if you're okay, just the routine checks. It's not something that it's common in Nigeria. Many times people seek health care when there's a problem. So a lot of the diseases are ongoing and they only go when there's a problem. By then, it's already very, very, very late. For instance, when we talk about glaucoma, for instance, in Nigeria, it's the commonest cause of irreversible blindness worldwide in Nigeria. And we have about 5.02% of Nigerians who have glaucoma. But it's sad to say that only 5.6% of Nigerians who have glaucoma are aware. And we have 94.4% of Nigerians who have glaucoma are not aware. So those are the figures. Majority, above 90% of Nigerians who have glaucoma.
I'm just wondering how you got the statistics of those who
there
have...
was a national blindness survey, and all the figures are there in the survey. Yes.
Are there early warning signs that individuals could pay attention to? For instance, and I'm talking about people who have I use glasses already, so there's something in there, and that prompted me to, do annual checks on the advice of my doctor, right? Do annual eye tests, and each time you say, okay, you're fine, go. That's reassuring. But for many who have no reason, are there early warning signs to look out for?
With regards to glaucoma or the eye in general?
Well, whether glaucoma or the eye.
Okay. Ideally, so you should be able to see. So are there early warning signs? Yes, for a lot of eye diseases, there might not be early warning signs. But let's talk about the commonest. For instance, we're talking about refractive error, which like the need to wear glasses. So ideally, you should be able to see letters at about 6 meters away. So that's, if you can't see a certain size of print at 6 meters away, it's a sign of concern. You should get your eyes checked. If you can't read tiny prints, you should get your eyes checked. If you have a lot of headaches or eye pains when you're trying to read or see clearly, you should get your eyes checked. If you can't see the board for children far away, the board from your seat, and you always have to move to the front of the seat, you should get your eyes checked. And in general, we advise all Nigerians to have their eyes checked at least once a year. So that if you have any of those conditions that are asymptomatic, we can pick it up early, and then we can start treating you.
Do you have glaucoma in children?
Oh, yes, we have glaucoma in children. We have some children are even born with glaucoma.
Dr. Wali mentioned that when she was talking about that. But you see, something worrisome about what Dr. Wali said. She said there are 3, I hope I heard her clearly. She said there are 3 trained ophthalmologists.
Glaucoma specialists.
Glaucoma specialists. Okay, glaucoma specialists. Just 3 at the eye center in Kaduna. So I'm thinking, do we have the specialists?
Yes, that's
to deal with this.
So we do have the specialists.
Enough?
No. That definitely no. They're never enough. Generally, we don't even have enough ophthalmologists to cover up Nigeria's population size. And it's top-heavy, bottom-light, the way it's said, because most of the few that we do have are in urban centers. So the rural centers, obviously, are severely lacking. So when we go for outreach programs, we find that awareness is a problem, diagnosis is a problem, management is a problem. So that is severely handicapped. In the FCT, for instance, we have Dr. Kudo and I, probably in the public hospitals, are the only ones that I'm aware of. We have a few in private hospitals that are functional, and then in the University of Abuja Teaching Hospital, there's one, maybe two, and then that's it, and that's for the FCT. So you can imagine the burden of the diseases that we have to deal with. We do not have enough, but the Glaucoma Society of Nigeria, the Ophthalmological Society of the Nigeria, even the Ministry of Health is doing quite a lot now in terms of encouraging or trying to establish more, trying to create more training centers and all of that, but still
Ministry of
not
Health,
enough.
what's the challenge? Speak to us, because I mean, you're encouraging Nigerians to come out. When we come out, who are we going to see?
The thing,
This is with regards to glaucoma.
yeah, so the thing is, yes, to manage the disease, but the screening for glaucoma, detecting glaucoma, identifying it can actually be done
And the
by...
facilities are also available.
The facilities to an extent is available, all right?
In public?
In public, manpower, not enough. Yeah, but facilities
Equipment?
not enough.
equipment, no, it's part of manpower. Human and material resources, not yet enough, I should say that word, because we're also getting there. But be that as it may, there are also other, you heard your report talked about the ministry trying to domesticate, getting a toolkit for Nigeria, and then trying to, that has trained 36 persons, including the FCT, on using that. That's ophthalmologists, as well as those guys, those people already cascading it down to the lower level so that people are part of it. I think, Okudo, you came for the training? Yes. So they are part of that chain, because once you do something at the top level, you also have to bring it down so that it gets there. Then also further, maybe the reporter didn't pick that, we are integrating primary eye care into primary healthcare systems. They are not trained to manage glaucoma, yes, but they are trained to identify them and refer to the next level of care. And so that, for us, that is also an avenue for Nigerians to get care. So because most importantly in glaucoma is early identification, right? When we don't identify it early, chances are that people will get blinded from it. And that's because we don't get to have symptoms from it. It's affecting our sight vision, and most people have compensation from the two eyes when it comes to sight vision. So it's only when it comes to the center, and by the time it starts affecting the center, about 70% have been lost. And this we are talking about is damage that cannot be brought back. And hence, the need for early diagnosis, institution of treatment early, is key to ensuring that people are not blinded from the disease. So for us, it's an avenue for Nigerians to come out, get tested. Even if you are within the pool of treatment, you will still get to be treated over time. And that will not affect, because even at the next level of care, there is definitely an ophthalmologist and also somebody that will be with you all through the day, because it's a lifelong disease. It's not something one-off like malaria, you treat 3 days and then it's a lifelong disease. In fact, people have categorized it as hypertension of the eye.
When you say lifelong, meaning treatment is forever?
Yes, absolutely. That has not been brought in this conversation, but treatment is forever.
But you said there is no cure.
Yes, management, okay, maybe I should take... Treatment and management is forever, so not cure now, because there are slight differences between...
What does the treatment and management do for you? It's irreversible.
Yes.
If you are blind, it's irreversible.
Yes.
So what does the treatment and management do?
The goal of treatment is, one, to ensure that your vision is maintained. So if you come to, if someone comes to me with glaucoma, so the goal of management is to ensure that the treatment is maintained as you are when I met you till death do us apart. When I say us now, it's a marriage of the patient and the doctor. Yes. So it's a marriage of the patient and the doctor. So till death do us apart. So that's the goal. Now, in that goal, so you have, at each point, you have a set pressure, because that's the only thing really in the risk factor that we can modify. You have other risk factors which Dr. Aisha has mentioned, black race, age, diabetes and all that, but the only risk factor which we can actually modify is the intraocular pressure of the eye. So we institute treatments, maybe drugs, maybe laser therapy, maybe surgery, to make sure that we have a set target pressure at which there will be no further damage to the optic nerve. And so that makes it easy for us to manage you so that you have good vision at the point we met you, because people could ask, are we going to improve the vision? Not much.
But
really,
just to make sure you don't get to blindness.
Exactly.
All right, let's get to Dr. Wali now. I'd like to know what it will cost to take care of glaucoma, just in case it is detected early. By the way, we'd like our viewers to know they can be part of this conversation. You can send in your comments, questions, recommendations, whatever it is, or personal experience, really. The number is on the screen, and of course, our guests would respond to them. Dr. Wali, I'd like to get to you. So, like I said, the cost of treating glaucoma, let us know. And, you know, so far in this conversation, I've not heard anybody talk about diet. I want to know if diets has a way of causing eye disease, you know, if not glaucoma, but any other one. I'd like to hear that.
Okay. Let me start with the last one you asked about diet. There are certain diets that if you're diabetic, you know, you have to change your diet so that the diabetes doesn't get worse, because diabetes can also affect the visual system. It's not just the other parts of the body that it affects. And if it's not taken care of, it can lead to blindness also. And then I know high cholesterol, you're prone to having hypertension, and hypertension is a risk factor for glaucoma. So those are the things I think from diet can affect vision. And then lack of some vitamins, like vitamin A, is very, very important for the visual system. So that can also affect the vision. Then the cost of treating glaucoma, if it's detected early, patient comes in for screening, the patient is just able to just pay a certain amount to get registered, have the examination, the thorough examination. But there are other tests that we do to confirm, because a patient can come in and you suspect it's glaucoma. The pressures are normal, because I like to say here there are some glaucomas that occur with low pressures. We call them low tension glaucoma. Those are the ones that are really difficult to diagnose. You have to make sure you rule out so many things before you say categorically is low tension glaucoma. So there are tests that we do which are quite reasonable, and sometimes some are very expensive. That's the central visual field, which we routinely do for all patients that are suspected to have glaucoma or established to have glaucoma, because once you establish they have glaucoma, you have to do serial tests of the central visual field to make sure there's no progression of the glaucoma, because some cases, even despite all the treatments, having surgery, having had laser, and are on treatment, it still progresses. This is an area that is still being researched to know why. So those are the tests we do. Then also, we also do other tests to visualize the optic nerve, that is the OCT. And then the cost of laser, we also have offer laser surgery as a stopgap for people that can't afford to have surgery immediately, or they can't continue on their drugs. So we have laser, which the cost is around between around 30,000 to 40,000 per session. Then also we also have the surgeries that we do, the trabeculectomy, which is also not expensive, but at a reasonable price for patients to be able to afford. So really, treatment for glaucoma is as Dr. Obimbam says, is a lifelong treatment, and it can really be economically, I think it can really be something that can be a burden to patients that are living in a low-income country. So, but National Eye Center, we try our best to get philanthropists, some non-governmental organizations that come in to assist us, even some pharmaceutical companies, because the drugs for glaucoma are quite expensive. Sometimes a patient can be on a drug, can be on more than one drug. It can, there's a need for the patient to probably be on two eye drops, and these eye drops are expensive. So sometimes we have most of our pharmaceutical companies that we engage to provide these eye drops for us, sometimes they give us some donations to give our indigent patients. But in summary, treatment for glaucoma can be financially be a burden to most patients.
I'd like to spend some more time with you. You are a referral center, national referral center. What trends are you seeing in, glaucoma cases across Nigeria? For instance, are younger people now presenting more frequently with glaucoma?
Yes, said the trend we're seeing now is that we're diagnosing younger children, that's younger adults, with what we call juvenile onset primary open-angle glaucoma. I don't have the statistics, but I know we've diagnosed quite a few and we've treated quite a few. And it's interesting to know that if a younger person gets glaucoma at an early stage, it progresses more than the one when you get it as an adult. So the numbers we're seeing now is quite alarming, even from my other colleagues that are not from other centers. I know the Glaucoma Society, the members of the Glaucoma Society have been talking about this juvenile onset glaucomas that they are seeing. And then we're also, because being a referral center, we're also seeing the congenital type of primary glaucoma also presenting. So it's really alarming, but we try to at least offer our best services to the patients, because most of the patients are being referred to us, being an Apex hospital in eye care in Nigeria. So the numbers are increasing, especially now that the population is also increasing and there's awareness. Every year, the ophthalmologists come together to create awareness for glaucoma, not just for the adults, for the younger ones, and also for the children that are born.
Dr. Wali, let's return to the studio. Dr. Okudo, not a good place to be in, really, talking about glaucoma. The fact that, well, you've already established that no symptoms, Nigerians do not naturally go for eye checks and all of that. But speak about the National Hospital, because that's where you function from. Tell us, Dr. Wali says, well, they speak with philanthropists, to assist with cost and all. Speak about what the health insurance says about the treatment of glaucoma. Is it captured in it? If not, your patients that you have to deal with, how do you have patients who are able to manage this disease till death, or some just do to a certain point and maybe because of cost and all of that give up? What are your experiences?
Okay, so I work with Asoko District Hospital.
Oh, I apologize.
The FCTA. Yes, so our treatments are covered with the national, the health insurance. We also have the FCT health insurance as well, and it's covered. So patients who are on that insurance, when they come in, all they have to do is bring their forms and then we sort out everything concerning the billing, and then they get their care. So they are for the drugs, there's a certain cost to which the drugs are covered, and then the investigations are also covered, the surgery is also covered. The challenge, I think, for most Nigerians, a lot of Nigerians are not on the scheme. So we really have to create a lot of awareness for a lot of Nigerians to get on board.
Is it 100% coverage?
For the surgery and for the investigations, yes. But for the drugs, there's a certain cutoff. For surgery, they don't pay anything for surgery. They don't pay anything for the investigations. They're all covered. They just get their forms from the NHIS office or the FCTHIS office, and then we do the procedures and their surgery for them.
So what about those who are not covered in the scheme? How do they deal with the cost?
So those who are not covered will have to pay out of pocket. So there's a price range, but the prices are readily affordable. There's a price range, so we just inform them of what the price is, they pay, and then they have their service done. So we try to keep our prices very affordable so that most people can receive care. And we also do a lot of outreaches. So we have a lot of companies, a lot of non-governmental organizations like Rotary, Lions Club, they all come and they sponsor surgeries as well for people who can't afford. So that also happens as well.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Kudo. Now, Dr. Kalambi, many people rely on self-medication, others on herbal remedies. How dangerous can this be for eye health?
Incredibly dangerous, unfortunately. Poor health-seeking behavior is something that has already been talked about, and particularly when it comes to eye care, is really, really rampant. We're very used to just going to any pharmacy and getting things over the counter, and then we start instilling. And in Nigeria, I'm from the north, many people tend to be doctors, so to speak, because it's like, they gave me this one when I went last time, why don't you try it? You know, not really knowing what it's for and what it's supposed to do and all of that. That is a very big problem. So the only way to stop that is actually to advocacy, which is what we keep doing all of the time. And I think that we have had some improvement and some advantages. Glaucoma Society, Ophthalmological Society, the Ministry of Health. In the recent times, we found that people tend to come to the hospital more and are not so quick to just go ahead and buy things over the counter. But it's a very big issue.
From the streets?
Yeah, so the glasses from the streets, the ones that they usually get from the streets are readers. Okay, so they usually just for reading, for near vision, they don't really help. And glaucoma glasses don't really help you. So even if you buy 1,000 from, and it's glaucoma that you have, it won't really make any difference, you know. But it doesn't cause any harm, but it doesn't do any good either. But the thing is, it masks the symptoms sometimes, because if you get an improvement, even if it's a little, it may make you psychologically feel, oh, I'm better, and not actually go to the hospital, and you actually don't know exactly. So it's not something that we encourage or something that we allow patients to do all of the time, because it is a problem.
Are there simple habits, you know, talking prevention now, that are healthy enough to, you know, care for the eyes, to protect the eyes from anything at all? Just simple habits, eating, whatever.
Yeah, so we talked about diet. Really, there's just be very conscious of the diet. Healthy diet, as it's helping the whole body, it's also helping the eye. So vegetables, fruits and vegetables, we found that actually have a role to play. So how try to take the things we call antioxidants that help to stop redox reactions within the system and all of that. They help with the health of the retina, the help of the optic nerve and all of that. Doesn't prevent, you know, like we said, most of it is genetic. So you're already predisposed to having it, but it would slow the progression, or at least aid to maintain the health of the one you have. So just eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. By vegetables, I mean things we have everywhere. It's your spinach, your ugu, all of those things, extremely rich in antioxidants and B complexes and redox. They help, you know, and we have them readily available, and they're affordable, so anybody can get it. It doesn't have to be apples or something. You can have oranges and things like that, and they actually do help.
Away from diet, excessive screen time, is that also a factor that could lead to eye defects? Well, if not glaucoma, I mean, we're trying to sensitize Nigerians, because I mean, this is everybody's on their phones, their tablets,
yes.
On the computer. You're there maybe 6-8 hours. Some say they're social media managers, whatever, so they're with their phones like all day. And then for certain people like us, we work in environments with bright lights all the time. So all of this, do they affect your vision in any way?
Yeah, so they do provide unnecessary strain to your system. So imagine the eye being, it's a function, you know? So it has muscles also, and it has different layers, and all of those muscles come into play. For instance, if you're looking near, the eye adjusts itself to give you the ability to look near. If you're looking at a distance, it also adjusts itself. And there are muscles, tiny, tiny muscles that are responsible for this adjustment to carry on. So when you're looking near, the muscles that are actually working overtime, so to speak. That's why it's easier for you to watch TV, for instance, than it is for you to read a book. You know, because you use more of those active muscles for you to see near than for you to see distance. So there's some studies that have been done, not in our environment, but Asian population. They found that the increased reading time, the increased screen times, the increased near work have actually increased the risk of myopia. And also studies have found that myopes are associated with higher degree of developing primary open-angle glaucoma. So in that regard, yes. But then it's you really have to take it in perspective, so to speak, because some people will say, don't look at your phone, it damages your eye. Technically, no, you know, but if you're already at risk of it, or there's a risk factor, or there's a predisposition, it may. Okay, and then things like the screen times and things like that, the eye produces a tear film, and that serves as a form of protection to the surface of the eye. So when you're increasing screen time, there's light rays, ultraviolet radiations that it emits, you know, and if your tear films are unstable and all of that, it could irritate the eye. The tears serve like a form of lubricant, so to speak. So when you close your eyes, open your eyes, that lubrication allows for the ease. When that interface is affected, you now have friction. Again, continuously, when that happens, erosion, and then you can have pain and discomfort.
Is glaucoma gender sensitive?
Types of glaucoma. Primary open angle glaucoma that we have more in our population are commoner in men, and then up angle closure glaucoma are commoner in females. So being male actually in our demography has been established as a risk factor for developing glaucoma.
Okay.
All right.
I see why Victor wears glasses.
Well, I have a colleague here. Dr. Bimba, what exactly does the National Eye Health Eye Program say about prevention of glaucoma?
Well, our key message for prevention of glaucoma is let Nigerians, we are celebrating Glaucoma Week. We started since Sunday the 8th, and it's going to end tomorrow the 14th. Let Nigerians come out, get tested. There are many places within the country that are offering free screening services at this moment. Let's use the opportunity of that free screening services, get tested, be reassured that it's not there. Even if it's there, it is not a death sentence, not a blinding disease, and get treatment as soon as possible. So for us, that is the key message at this point in time.
Are there national screening programs to detect glaucoma early?
Now, if you say national screening, glaucoma doesn't categorically fit into the screenable diseases if we go technically as a public health disease. However, because of its public health importance, we encourage early detection. All right? So what does that mean? We do encourage people to go visit clinics or visit screening places once a year. Now, if you don't have it like the way we talk about screening for cervical cancer and other forms of cancer, because those ones, once you detect them early, you clip it and all that. But for glaucoma, once you detect early, you start treatment, you know, and that treatment will now stop the blindness, not the glaucoma. All right?
Stop for the
damage, yes. And so no blindness, all right? So because of that, what we encourage is this annual health checks, all right? So we don't have, so to say, a standard screening program as you have for cervical cancer now, but all facilities are equipped to do these screenings at any point in time, and massively more during this period of the glaucoma week.
Dr. Wale, when she was speaking about the treatment, talked about despite treatment in some cases, glaucoma degenerating.
Yeah.
What could cause that?
There are several factors that could lead to that. You have people who have, there is a form, the one she talked about, the low tension or normal tension glaucoma. Some has been linked to the sleep apnea. Some have also been linked to poor perfusion of the optic nerve head, which is the nerve connecting the eyes to the brain. So when you have those, and then this has been linked to even people taking their antihypertensive medications late night, you know, because at the point when we are about retiring for bed, all our hormonal changes is made by the Lord in such a way that it keeps shutting down. And so even the perfusion, what we call perfusion, that's the blood flow, the oxygen the optic nerve head gets at night is also reduced. So when you take some drugs that are antihypertensive, that also reduces that, it makes it difficult for the nerve to be oxygenated.
Thank you, Dr. Obigbam. You have mentioned the Lord, and Nigerians like to call God in everything. And that takes me to Dr. Wale. I would like you to speak about some of the myths and misconceptions, you know, concerning eye defects generally, and maybe specifically to glaucoma. And, you know, not like Nigerians shouldn't pray, right? But speak to us if prayer works with this.
Pardon?
I'm talking about myths and misconceptions about eye defects. You know, what you have heard and seen a lot of people do. I know some people will tell you when you have issues, you wash your eyes with whatever it's, whatever it is will go away, or, and all of that. And then Dr. Obim talked about when we're about to sleep, right? That the way the Lord designed us, so that has brought God into this conversation. So I'm asking, not like we're trying to say people shouldn't pray, but does prayer cure glaucoma?
Well, that's a very political question to me. Well, in a way, if you have a belief, people have beliefs, so some it works for them, some it doesn't. I think some having, it's not just for glaucoma, for other diseases, prayers and then the doctor's treatment, they go together for treatment. People have so many myths about eye diseases. Some think it's only the old people that get blind, and even the aged people or the old people, because I've come across, during one of my researches in the rural areas, I came across a very old patient with bilateral cataract, and I tried to tell him that, excuse me, you can get to see once you have your cataract surgery, and he was like surprised that he's an old man. Old age comes with blindness, and I tried to convince him that no, yes, it comes with blindness, but your own kind of eye condition can be taken care of and you'll be able to see. And then some have this belief that once you have some eye problems, once you just wash the eye with certain, like holy water, some even to the extent of putting breast milk, some even they're advised to put their own urine, which we are really against, because with the urine, you're not sure what kind of infection that urine has. And we've seen cases whereby they've used urine and they lost, the infection was so virulent that it affected the cornea and the patient became blind. But some still have that belief of using holy water. We've had cases whereby they come and they tell us that they've stopped using their eye drops, especially glaucoma patients, and they're using some holy water like Zamzam for the Muslims, and that they think it's working for them. But lo and behold, when you check the pressures, because for glaucoma is the pressure you're monitoring, you find out that the pressures are still high, so you have to advise them. Even if they're going to resort to prayer, they should still do what the doctors tell them to do and still seek for help in the appropriate places.
Thank you very much. Now, we've had messages coming in, quite a number of questions and contributions. Well, let me begin with this one from Jackson, who is from Akwa Ibom State in Uyo. Good morning. Oh, he said MTN Nigeria. It is NTA. Please, if water comes out of a person's eyes every 24 hours, what can that person use to stop that water coming out from his eyes? Okay, that's one. And I don't know if the follow-up is his. Does glaucoma have symptoms? I think that's been talked about here. Now, good morning to all the panel members. Thank you for today's topic. I want to ask if the job one is doing can accelerate the development of glaucoma. That's another. This one is from Funke Adeyibi. Says, good morning and thank you for always being there for us. Please, can anything be done to increase small iris? And finally, okay, not finally, I have others from Kayode Busari in Lagos. Many thanks to NTA for today's very germane topic of discussion. Can our guests further demystify the diseases of the eyes, please? What is the main difference between cataract and glaucoma? Can two separate eye diseases affect the same patient at the same time? Okay, for further clarification, can the two eyes of a patient be affected by two different eye diseases at the same time? For instance, right very blurry and the left seen clearly. In fact, I can tell you yes. But good morning and thanks for this topic. My mom actually has this glaucoma. She only sees with one eye right now. Please, is there any cure for it? Testing from Asaba. That's the name, okay. And my little brother has this redness of eyes for the past 7 years now. I don't know. And finally, from Dr. Joseph Suberu in Lokoja, is it true that washing the eyes with water regularly, like as frequent as 8 hours, helps with the eyes? That's Dr. Joseph Suberu. Maybe I start with Dr. Akudo. Perhaps we just fill in gaps here and
so
there.
let me try and start from the first question about watering. So there are so many things that can cause tearing. We call that tearing or excessive tearing from the eyes. And the honest truth is, you have an excessive tearing, please have your eyes checked, because there are a myriad of things that can cause it, so that we can examine you and determine which it is, and then we can treat you appropriately. There was also a question about differentiating cataracts and glaucoma. So cataracts is the commonest cause of blindness. Cataract, the problem with cataracts is the lens. And the lens is towards the anterior, is in the front part of the eye. What happens in cataracts is that the lens begins to get white. Okay. And then we call it opacification. It keeps increasing to a point where the individual stops seeing. The good thing about cataracts, even though that is the commonest cause of blindness, is that there's a cure for it. We do surgery, and then you get, as long as you don't have any other eye problem. If it's just cataracts, when you do your surgery, you would see eventually. But in glaucoma, the problem is with the optic nerve. The nerve is a protrusion of the brain, and that's what it connects the eye to the brain, and that's what's responsible for you to actually see. The challenge, like Dr. Kalamba said, is that once you have glaucoma, the nerve starts to degenerate, and it doesn't grow back. It degenerates and is lost. It doesn't grow back anymore. So it's irreversible. The damage that has occurred from glaucoma cannot be reversed. So at the point you come to us and we start treating you, what we're trying to do is keep you where you are, halt or slow down the process of it getting worse. So cataracts is reversible. You would see after your surgery. Glaucoma is irreversible. We're trying to prevent you from going blind.
All right. You want to respond?
You have something to respond to?
Yeah, so cataracts, because the lens is the area that is affected, and it becomes white, like she rightly mentioned, you may actually see it. So when you're looking at somebody, you may actually notice that there's a whitish discoloration right there in the center, which is where the lens is located. But because glaucoma is a disease affecting the optic nerve, we call it the posterior segment of the eye, you wouldn't see it. So there's actually no evidence clinically. When you look at the person, you don't really see any differences.
For clarity, I mean, for the person who asks whether if you can have cataract in one eye and have glaucoma in the
so
other.
Somebody asked whether you could have both conditions. So you could have both conditions in the same eye.
Even in the same eye?
Yes, even in the same eye. So you can have cataract, and which is a problem actually sometimes, because you may go ahead and now do the cataract surgery, you've moved the lens, because the way, think of it this way, it's like a window, right? If I can see through it, then you can also see, two-way street, so to speak. So if the lens is opaque, opacification, and it's white, the same way you can't see out also means that we can't see in, because for us to examine the nerve to actually show us whether there is glaucoma or not, we need to be able to look through. And if that window, which is the lens, is now not clear, we also can't see in. You can't see out, but we also can't see in. So the same eye can have the same condition. Because glaucoma is a bilateral disease. Somebody asked about one eye being blind and the other wasn't. It's a bilateral disease, but in most bilateral diseases, it can be asymmetrical. So you would have it being worse in one eye, and that's why you may be blind in the other eye, which is actually something to really worry about, because it means the disease is still probably in the other eye, but not as severe. So you're able to function with the other eye. 80% of the people that come blind in one eye already. So what we're now battling with is trying to make sure that the one they have isn't lost.
We need to pause for a break. The program is not over yet. We have more questions coming in from our viewers. So stay with us. Let's take this quick break. Many thanks for staying with us. It's still Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the NTA. Now time to take some more messages that we have. Our guests are still very much with us. Dr. Wali, of course, is in our Kaduna studio. So quickly run through the messages. This one says, Good morning Nigeria. Thanks. If one is experiencing slight lightening on the eyes once in a while, what's happening and what should one do? The next one says, Good morning. This is Edmond Goniak from Onisha. This issue of glaucoma is heartwarming, but the lack of manpower to confront it in hospitals should be addressed. The next says, good morning, presenters. Your guests affirm that glaucoma is not redeemable or curable. Is there any role stem cells can play in the treatment of glaucoma? And that's from Babalola James Solatunde from Port Harcourt. And another one says, does constant exposure to phone rays cause glaucoma? That's from Christiana Pam. This one says, good morning. My name is Mr. Wealth from Abuja. I want to ask the doctors to please educate us all on herbal tea. It's being advertised on Facebook. Does it work? Is it advised to take it to improve your eyes? This one says, thank you, NT, for the enlightenment on glaucoma. Does eye drop containing corticosteroids worsen or help glaucoma? That's from James Peter in Abuja. And finally, eye doctors, well done. What's the risk of buying reading glasses in Wuse Market? How bad is that? That's from Mukta Isa Heritage House, Wuse Zone 3. I see why you buy glasses from Wuse Market. Let's get to Dr. Wali.
Let me add this last one before she gets going. Now, good morning. I am Samson Adebayo from Oshogbo. I enjoyed the program. I want to know if I had no issue with my eyes, because every time I take a bath, my eyes turn reddish, which will always go back to normal after some minutes. I hope this is normal. So.
All right, Dr. Wali, I'd like you to respond to some of the questions, the ones you were able to pick.
The one that talked about going to Wuse Market to buy his glasses. Well, those selling glasses, they don't check the eye, they just do a guesswork for the patients. And having an opportunity to go to a hospital while there are eye care health workers gives you an opportunity to be screened for other eye diseases like glaucoma, and then you get the appropriate glasses being dispensed to you. So I advise that even if it's for reading glasses, please have it done in a hospital or an eye care facility. And then the other question was the child with redness, because for 7 years, maybe the child probably has allergic conjunctivitis, which is commoner in children, or vernal conjunctivitis, which is commoner with children. Some is associated with can be seasonal. Some is due to some allergies, like some foods, certain foods like nuts, seafood. So I think the child should be checked. He should see a eye health practitioner to check and then give the appropriate treatment. And then another one was steroids. Steroids, yes, steroids are used for certain diseases to treat some certain diseases that causes poor vision in the eye. But it's not advisable to be used without being prescribed, and it's not advisable to be used for a patient that has glaucoma, because some patients are steroid responders, which means they use steroids and it affects the eye pressure in the eye, and it can also cause other problems like cataract. So we don't advise steroids to be given without any prescription by a eye health practitioner.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Obimbam.
Yeah, the one that talked about bathing and then having red eyes that clears a while. What comes to mind, could it be that
soap gets in the eye?
It gets in the eye, one, and could it also be that he's reacting to something, perhaps from the water or anything, causing allergy, transient allergy time at that point? So it's something he also has to look into to know what and perhaps visit his healthcare provider, eye health provider. Talking about steroids can be overemphasized, because for me, most people go to the chemist in local way or the pharmacist, and the commonest prescription I've come to see is that people are giving steroids. And being that it's a glaucoma week, and like Dr. Wali said, the chances of increasing glaucoma is higher. So it's also another risk factor for glaucoma. So it's higher. So we encourage people to always see their their doctor before
Reading glasses from Wuse Market.
I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that. Reading glasses from Wuse Market is even bad, and worse if he's changing glasses frequently, because that's also a pointer to glaucoma. Because
not just Wuse Market now, reading glasses from
anywhere, roadside now. Roadside, we should say. Wuse Market could be considered as one of the roadside. So usually people are supposed to change their glasses about 2 to 4 years, right? But when you now start changing it earlier than 2 years, it's also a pointer that the glaucoma is affecting the eye. Some people, that may even be the only symptom they may have, you know, as the glaucoma
Is it okay
progresses.
to use other people's glasses?
Certainly not, because you are using people's prescription. It's just like saying you are taking paracetamol for a problem that needed anti-malaria. So it's not the same. Two of you may not have the same power.
It may not, of course.
Yes,
Except there is a coincidence, a rare coincidence.
May not have the same power, and then using his glasses will put strain on the eye. Like Dr. Aisha said, the muscles of the eye could be strained in such a way that it will even worsen a problem that was already there.
Speak about diet that could worsen your eye condition. I'm talking generally now, because I mean, growing up, of course, you hear people say if you eat white gari too much, you become blind.
If you drink gari?
Oh, if you drink gari generally, okay, well, I don't know. But speak about diet that are not eye friendly, right? Are there things that we should do?
Well, I think one of the myths that we had before about gari, poorly processed gari contains some levels of cyanide, and that on its own could be inimical to the optic nerve. And so that's what I thought, anecdotal personal suggestions anyway, that could be why people say it damages the eye. But other diseases like Dr. Wale has said in the past that could cause hypercholesterolemia, affecting hypertension, giving us junk. Generally, we say eat healthy, right? Exercise, quit smoking and all that. So if you are engaged in such habits, that would also be, the eye is part of the body, is not on its own. So things that will affect the body generally could also affect the eye. But specifically, we encourage you to take green leafy vegetables for the eye, mostly freshly prepared, and also carrots, palm oil, because they have a lot of retinol, and even beetroots.
Onions. Some people say onions. Raw onions.
Is because it clears the eye. Not necessarily, but tomatoes, because they also have a rich vitamin A content, and you have things like carrot, palm oil, some mangoes to an extent too, and then even the green leafy veggies, spinach and ugu and all that.
All right, Dr. Akudo, does pregnancy affect your eyes?
Oh yes, pregnancy affects the eyes. Pregnancy can affect the eyes. So we have some normal changes that are called physiological changes that occur during pregnancy that can affect the eyes, and then there are also a few pathological changes that can also creep in pregnancy and that can also affect the eyes. So we also encourage all pregnant women at all times during pregnancy to come in at least every trimester, try and have your eyes checked. I also wanted to answer one of the questions somebody asked about herbal tea on social media. So we as a body, the Ophthalmological Society of Nigeria, where there's so much social marketing on social media about some magic drugs that if you take them, either drugs or tea, that if you take them will cure cataracts, will cure glaucoma, you will drop your glasses. Please, those information are not true. And it's out there. The marketing is really aggressive, if I may say. There's so many herbal teas they say would cure glaucoma and cure cataracts. It's not true. Please have your eyes checked.
There's also a misconception, I don't know if it's a misconception, if it's true, that people who use glasses never get to drop them. Instead, they move from maybe one, I don't know how it is graded, that they move from one lens to double to triple, that glasses...
I asked this question many years ago. My brother told me, say, look, forget that corrective story.
So that's why some people run away from glasses. So speak about that.
So the one thing about glasses is that as you get, glasses power changes with age. Even if you start wearing it as a child, you still have to keep doing the glasses test. For children, we say every year. For adults, maybe every 2 years. So when you do the test every year or every 2 years, your glasses power might change and it would need to be replaced. So glasses is just like your shoes. It helps you to see better. The glasses in itself will not cure the refractive error, so that at a point in time you're going to have to drop it. And then usually from the age of 40, the average person will begin to need glasses for reading. So that's a normal, I call it...
You're above 40. Do you use glasses for reading?
I'm not reading at the moment.
No, but I'm just asking.
Yes,
when you're reading, do you use glasses?
I do.
Because I wanted to ask why both of you don't use glasses even when you check the eyes. So are your eyes 100%?
It's different for different people.
Or is that something you're doing differently?
I wear glasses to read.
All right, I have this message that came in a bit later. It's like, given that first-degree relatives or glaucoma patients are at 4 to 9 times higher risk, how can we better identify and screen these high-risk families, Dr. Kalambe?
One of the things I think we talked about earlier on was who should get their eyes checked or something. So I think by far the highest group of people, so to speak, is those with a family history of ocular disease or blindness. So practicing glaucoma and running the clinic, now I make it a point to actually talk to the patients and ask them, do you have other family members that have poor vision or have lost vision for any cause? Because many times, like Dr. Wali was mentioned earlier, elderly people feel that it's an entitlement. As you get older, you should lose vision. So I ask them, even if it's a grandparent, and they say, yes, but because she's old. I'm like, no, blindness, age doesn't directly mean that you lose vision or blindness. So we ask the patient, if you have anybody in your family that has lost vision or has decreased vision for any reason, particularly when they're not even sure what caused it, yes, so family members. And there's this thing I've noticed also within our population group or the patients that I see. We tend to hide things, family members, but some will say, I ask them, have you told your family members? And they say, no. You know, some don't want to tell their family members that they have a problem, especially if it's second or third degree relatives. Some, even their children, are unaware. So I always encourage the patients, tell your family members, tell your children, tell your brothers, tell your sisters. Genetic predisposition, something we've talked about. Once there's one person in that family that has had blindness, every other person within that family is at risk, and yes, they should get their eyes checked.
Dr. Obibwam, what comes to my mind at this time? I don't know if you've read Gifted Hands. Ben Carson talked about having challenges with his sight as a child that affected his grades in school, but nobody knew that it was the sight that was the problem. You know, they kept moving him, trying to see how he could get better, until eventually he just stumbled on an eye check where it was discovered it was his eyes. And once he got his glasses, he could pick up with his academics. Now, speak about children, because a lot of children are suffering, you know, this same thing. And it's affecting them in their academics, but their parents are not aware. So what would you want parents to do generally? Is it that when the child is born, the eyes should be checked? Or is it that you get to a certain age and all?
Okay, currently, I think you're dragging me so much from... Currently, we are doing what we call, I think both of them in the studio, we are part of that development, in neonatal screening for ocular diseases in Nigeria. So we are developing that protocol. So that will speak to congenital, and then it will also be used to train primary healthcare workers, other health workers that work in maternity ward. So that as a child is born, it has that screening at that birth. We're also working with the Ministry of Education to ensure that it is categorically instituted within the school health system that each child has a preschool screening at entrance, and then annually as he transitions into different classes. So that aspect will be, but of course, it's not fully integrated. We are not fully where we want to be. It's a process we are moving on to. So talking to parents now, because the majority of our problem with children is actually the stigma around using glasses. You've talked about that once you start using, it will keep having double and all that. So that stigma is a major challenge for us, despite all we've been doing, despite all we've been saying to parents and all that. Compliance, which is more centered around stigma, because studies have shown that compliance for children using spectacles in Nigeria is below 36%. And so for us, that is really much. So you have 100 people who want to use glasses, less than 40 of them are using it. All right? So the stigma around it, the teachers too have to be educated, which we are also doing with the school eye health program, together with the school Ministry of Education. So those are areas, but awareness creation that this is not, use of glasses is not a death sentence for any child. Rather, it will help improve the grades and help to improve, make him better academically, socially, integrate more within the system and have more self-confidence. Imagine a child having to move close to the board every time to see. That on its own has a way of affecting the psyche, right? So we are taking the message to the schools and also to the parents with this program as well. Though this is not the time to do this, but there are avenues which we encourage parents to allow their children use glasses, because people will say, it's too young to use glasses, 5 years and all that. There are people who are as young as 2 years who use glasses, because in children, there is what we call plasticity of the eyes. So the eyes develop as we get up to a certain age, some cases 11 to 14 years. So before we get to that age, some people who are exposed to more indoors, like the studies she cited in the Asian countries, been associated that people who are more indoors tend to do more near work, and so as such they develop myopia. And so we are also encouraging children to play out at least 2 hours a day. That will also help vision.
All right, thank you. Okay, in 30 seconds.
Okay, sorry. So just yesterday during the screening, you find that if you do not correct a refractive error in a child when that age of visual maturation, persistence he was talking about, has exceeded, even if they come as adults and are seeking care, it's not, you can't fix it. And even if you do give them glasses later on, the vision remains permanently impaired. Yesterday we came across people that had that issue, and it's just because it wasn't corrected when they were children and it wasn't intended.
All right, thank you. Let me get to Dr. Wali quickly. I have just about 45 seconds for you. Is there a place for technology and telemedicine, for instance, in expanding eye care services?
There is a place for technology and telemedicine, especially now that most of our public institutions, especially the tertiary institutions, are all on the electronic medical records system now for attending to patients. So it's an avenue for us to develop it further, for us to have telemedicine. Why? By using that, and I think it's one of the things that the Federal Ministry of Health is trying to develop, so that patients that are seen in a facility A can have a follow-up in facility B, because we know now sometimes the cost of traveling and then the insecurity that we have, especially for us in National Eye Center. We encourage patients that come from very far, we encourage them, like for me personally, if I know it's something that I have a colleague somewhere that can see that patient, I try to refer them. So you see, with telemedicine, it will make it even easier. The doctor that I'm referring the patient to will be able to have the records with him easily, and then be able to manage the patient, and we'll be able to communicate and co-manage the patients together.
Amina Hassan Wali, that's the much time would permit us to take. Thank you so much for being our guest. Dr. Amina Hassan Wali, Chief Medical Director, National Eye Center, Kaduna. Thank you for the work that you do. Dr. Aisha Sharif Kalambe, Senior Consultant Ophthalmologist, Asokoro District Hospital. Thank you and well done. Dr. Adora Chiwendu Okudo, Consultant Ophthalmologist, Asokoro District Hospital. Thank you. Thank you so much for being our guest. We appreciate your insights. And of course, Dr. Chimezie Obi-Igbam, Consultant Ophthalmologist and Director, National Eye, Ear and Sensory Functions Health Program, Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare. Indeed, a pleasure to have you in our studio again. Look forward to having more of you, of course. So that's our package this Friday. Take care of your eyes. Very important. So you can see me next week. I'm Henry John. Have a great weekend.
And I'm Victor Azul. See you again on Monday. Enjoy your weekend.